Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle McLean, your host for Tip Radio here with IAOTP, the top international and industry professionals. And this is where we speak to the inspirational members of IAOTP, talking about their successes and their accomplishments and everything that they have to share with us as members. So today we have a most inspirational woman. She's been on a radar for a long time, and tune in, everybody, because she is absolutely incredible. She has been in the industry for 4 decades, and she looks like a little youngster. So I don't know how you do it. Her life's work to the legal industry has certainly proven herself as an expert in everything to do with legal, and she's a household name. She's a member of Fox News Channel, co-host on The Five, which is the highest rated program in cable news, and she serves as the host of Life of Luxury and Castles USA on Fox Nation. We're so excited to learn more about what you have to share with us and all those inside little stories. So please welcome, everybody, our wonderful Judge Jeanine Pirro. You are just amazing.
Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for that kind introduction. And thank you for taking the time to interview me. I'm looking forward to this. Obviously, it's a mutual admiration society. It goes both ways. So I'm delighted to be here.
Well, first off, okay, so you've got a long accolade of, a long arm of accolades in your life. You are just incredible in so many ways. So let's just talk about the inspiration and influential person that you are. You are not only local in the United States, you're international, a courageous career in legal industry, and you're the first elected woman judge in Westchester County, serving as the elected Westchester County District Attorney, where you served for 3 consecutive terms. That's incredible, right? How does anybody do that? And you also, I've got to tell everybody about you. You've got your own show, Justice with Judge Jeanine, and now co-host on The Five, the Fox. So for all the listeners out there, with everything that you have on your plate, how do you cope with this?
Well, first of all, I think that if you're a high energy person, it's really not a question of how you do it all. It's really a question of, is there enough to do to fill your time and your energies? And so I've been fortunate. As you say, I've been a prosecutor, a judge, and a district attorney for over 3 decades. I've run for office 5 times, and politics, of course, especially in New York, is a blood sport. And then I was very fortunate to segue into television, syndicated television, where I had a court show, and now in terms of Fox News, which kind of picks at both my legal background as well as, my criminal background in terms of my experience in law enforcement. I have been blessed to be born in this country and to be able to access all of the opportunities that are here for women. I did it though at a time when women were not considered the DAs, and they were not considered judges. And, was the first woman to prosecute a murder case in a county of a million people. They were like, what is this young girl doing here? And you can break barriers and realize that it creates a foundation for the generation that comes after you. And, now my own daughter is an attorney, and, I can look back and think of all of the times and all of the problems that presented themselves to me as a woman. And the first woman to do this, that, and the other thing, and then think to myself, but then I became the boss, the DA, and 43 police chiefs were in a position where all of their jurisdictions had to come to my office. and to me for approval on any crime, and we prosecuted over 40,000 a year. The segue to television was relatively easy because when you're in law enforcement, you're 24/7. Television is also 24/7. It's, you got to stay up on the news. You've got to know what's going on. You've got to know what the arguments are, and it just feeds my energy. So I'm very fortunate and blessed.
Well, besides the fact that I can hardly relate to what you're doing because, both the combination of being in law enforcement and television. I've been in television for 25 years, but to have that, continued, I suppose, pressure on you. And you were just mentioning something about it's a male-dominated world. How did you navigate around that?
I think it really was because I had a strong mom, and, my family was, very supportive of me. At a time when I was in college and I said I wanted to go to law school because, I'm no spring chicken here, let's not kid each other. People would say, well, you're going to be a mommy, so why go to law school? Why be a lawyer? And I remember a relative saying to me, are you going to bring your baby to court with you? I mean, they were just very condescending. And it was a challenge. Everything was a challenge. And, prosecuting murder cases. My boss said to me, and I was the only woman, and he said, well, women can't go for the jugular. And I couldn't help but laugh to myself that they didn't really get it. And so I knew that I had to be prepared. I had to be, one step ahead, or, like Ginger Rogers, be able to dance backwards in high heels. But I never had a chip on my shoulder. I always had a sense of humor. I knew when I was being picked on, it was pretty obvious a lot. And I just kind of, you just kind of brush it off. And, you just love it. And, I've written 8 books. Some of them are about, me as a young prosecutor, Sly Fox, Clever Fox, and then books about politics, books about crime. Uh, I love life, and I'm fortunate to be able to continue in a way. Thank God I'm still healthy, and I try to take care of myself. Although I must tell you, sugar is my downfall. I love chocolate and I love peppermint patties.
Well, you don't look like
So,
that, Jeanine.
yeah, I
Amazing.
know, but I enjoy.
So what would your message be to anybody who would inspire to be in your industry, just to know the work that it takes?
Um, I think it's not just work. I think it really is focus. I think it's all about focusing. And, it's about setting guidelines for yourself. Within this period of time, this is what I want. And this is what I need to do. Look, there's no question, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but there's no question that you give up a lot of the fun times to work. And, it's a sacrifice. But it isn't always a sacrifice. If you love what you do, and I do, it's not work. And I will never forget, Michelle, that when I was elected district attorney, and I was elected judge and all that, I woke up the next day and I danced my way out of bed. I didn't just like fall out of bed. I just danced because it was my passion. It was what fueled me. And even when I was a judge on the bench, I mean, I knew that my role was different. It was to be objective. I had to take the defendant's rights into consideration, balance them. And the victim has very few rights in the scheme of things. But I knew that when I left the bench and I gave up my robe, much to my mother's chagrin, I just was back in where I needed to be. That law enforcement was in my DNA, fighting for a level playing field for the crime victim, for the child victim, for the elderly victim. I started the first domestic violence unit in the nation. in 1978, when no one was talking about battered women, when the thinking was battered women, they take the beating because they really like it. And, it just fueled me. And then when the internet came out and, being one of the first prosecutors to prosecute internet crime, and with 100% conviction rate, doctors, lawyers, priests, coaches, school superintendents, we took them all down. And it was about recognizing that we need to give victims a voice, because previously they were the silent victims of crime. And when I see the chaos that is going on in our society today, and I see that there is, no justice for crime victims when criminals are being allowed out on bail because of social justice, which no one has defined for me. I am in great pain, and I want to fight the fight again. And I want to make sure that they change the laws to allow the victims some ability to heal, and to put those people who've made a decision to violate the laws and the rights of law-abiding citizens, to put them where they belong.
Mm. So you've spent I can just feel your passion, and it's so encompassing. And then, what I wanted really to know is, if somebody wanted to go into your industry, what would they have to do do they have to just be passionate about society and all of their rights? Or, what would your advice be?
It's an interesting question. Not everybody shares my energy, my passion. A lot of people are low energy and just as effective. Um, but I think they've got to be committed, and they've got to have, Michelle, they've got to have a moral core, and they can't waver from that moral core. And I don't care if you're in a federal court or if you're in a basketball court. I mean, whatever your desire is, you've got to be you. You've got to be real. You've got to reach in and be able to take from that energy that you've got, and play it out. I think that when people try to be someone that they're not, the public can see it, and they fail. And I've had my failures. I mean, there's no question. But when you were true to yourself, and true to your mission, and true to what it is you believe in, then that comes across. You're credible, you're believable. And for me, trying cases, I mean, that was my strength. I couldn't wait to go into a courtroom and settle that score, so that the victim had a level playing field, so that the laws, and I fought to change the laws for victims. I mean, it's a multifaceted approach that you take to get to your goal. It isn't necessarily, linear. Sometimes you have to go this way and that way. And for me, it meant fighting crime, being prepared, getting the evidence, and then going out to the legislature and changing the law. And then what it meant was going out to the newspapers and the meetings and the women's groups to get them to understand that the law is there and it can be effective, but you need to use it. It was important for me to tell people, I will facilitate your entrance into the justice system. That don't assume that what you hear is true. I will make the system work for you. And it has to be a truth and an energy pack that you can go back to convince people, whether she's a battered woman or an abused child or a child witness who's seen a homicide. We can get justice for you. We can. But you have to believe in me, and you have to know that I will deliver for you. So it's not just linear, you study and everything as well. No, it's beyond, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. I mean, when I was the DA, I was the first in the office and the last to leave. How could I expect 300 employees to work long hours if I didn't? It was, and it is important work matters. And, we live in a world now where Zoom, people want to zoom in. Oh, well, baloney, it's over. The pandemic is over. Get your tails to work. And why? Because when you talk to other people at work, you learn more and you get to show your boss, how good you are. I'm not into this lazy stuff, but that's just me.
You you are a powerhouse of note. And let's not even talk about your illustrious career. So you've had numerous awards and honors and been featured on magazines. You'll also be featured at the famous NASDAQ billboard in Times Square in December. You
Yes.
won an Emmy Award for your court program broadcasted by Warner Brothers. You will be honored at IAOTP's annual awards gala this year in December in New York as selected as top judge and TV host of the year. So when you're saying you married the two careers together, you were saying, I took what I do in justice and then you take it to the media. And so just tell us, you spoke a little bit about that, but where would you like to see this going in the future? Like, what has been your greatest achievement in that collaboration of those worlds? And where would you see that in the next 5 years?
Well, first of all, I mean, Michelle, you talked about the segue between over 3 decades in law enforcement and politics, running for office 5 times, and television today. And I won an Emmy with my court show and doing so well on the shows that I've done. To me, an audience, the viewing audience, is a jury. All right. So whether I'm standing in a courtroom in front of 12, 14, or 16 in the box, depending upon the case, or whether I'm looking at a monitor, maybe sometimes alone in a studio, it still requires that I be the same credible, believable person who's done her homework, who knows the best way to present her case, and who is trying to both educate and inform her audience. And so the segue for me, and it was kind of interesting because I got a call from Warner Brothers, Telepictures, and they said, we'd like to do a court show with you. And I remember thinking to myself, why? And they said, well, we've watched your career for so many years, we think it's time. And I said, but I don't know anything, about your world. And they said, oh yeah, you do. And so I segued almost overnight as a result of their calling me. And so I've been in television for 15 years now, and 14 years maybe. And I've been able to relay my passion and my energy and my credibility, and recognize that if I don't believe it, Michelle, I won't say it. So you asked the question, where do I see myself in 5 years? I'm at a point in my life where I am very happy. I am living my best life. My kids are grown. I mentioned my daughter is an attorney and she's an equity partner in a big law firm in Manhattan. My son is in real estate and he's killing it too. And I have 3 standard poodles. I'm about to get a Bernedoodle, all rescues, by the way. And I have a 2-year-old grandson, and I don't plan to slow down at all, but I smell the flowers more than I used to. I like to mentor young women. I did it as DA and I do it here as well. I think it's very important for young women to know that, whatever awards, whatever robe, whatever I may carry with me, I'm still a little girl inside, who never thought she was good enough. And for whatever reason, other people thought she was better. And so that gives me satisfaction. And I've always been an animal lover. And, I used to prosecute people who committed crimes against animals. And, I remember the county saying to me, we don't pay you for that. And I remember saying, you may not pay me for it. I'm happy to do it on my own time and get assistant DAs who agree, because every serial murderer started out by abusing animals. But I didn't expect the county board of the budget to know all that. So I'm living my best life, loving my animals, my kids, my one grandchild, and every day. Here's the good news, Michelle. This is what I will miss. Every day they do my hair and makeup. What's better than that?
In television, I used to think, oh, it's like it's harassment. Oh my gosh, you're gonna pull something again. You're gonna, pull
Yeah.
my eyelid, whatever. But I do miss it now that I don't have it.
Oh, it's
Do
the
it
best.
myself. I agree.
And you know what's interesting, Michelle? When I'm not on television, I don't wear a stick of makeup. I can't wait to go home and wash my face.
Well, I was going to
Uh,
ask you, what do you do in your spare time with all the busyness that you have in your life? What do you do?
well, I've always worked out. And did Soul Cycle for a long time before the pandemic, but now I have a trainer. I've had him for 21 years. And so I work out three days a week with him, and then I'll do something, whether it's Soul Cycle or SLT or Pilates, something to add to it. But I move around a lot, and I prefer standing. I don't like sitting, even when I speak. I have a radio show on WABC here in New York, and I stand when I do the show. I don't know why. It's just stuck with me. So
That's
yeah,
great.
I'm trying
Well,
to
you
think. I
look
like to travel, but I don't
incredible.
get to travel too much. But
Well,
life is good, and I thank God every day for giving me all of these blessings.
that's amazing. We can only be grateful every time we get up in the morning, we breathing, we walking. So if you did travel, because that's a little hint that you gave me, if you had more time, where would you go to? What would be your best place to go to?
I love the Middle East. I've done a lot in the Middle East. I love Italy. I traveled there. My son got engaged this past summer, and the whole family went out. And we just partied for about 10 days. And I said to him, I said, Alex, this is like a wedding at this point. But I love Italy. I love Michelle. I love the sun. The sun gives me energy. And I love the Four Seasons in New York, but also when the sun shines. So, the Middle East or Italy in the summer, or, Florida, but it's not as great as some of the dry areas like Arizona. I'm a desert person. I love it.
Oh, well, then you should come to my country. And I promote safaris in Namibia. So you should come to Namibia.
Really? Well,
Absolutely.
let's do that.
I live in Miami, but I promote a lot of retreats for women, and you talk about empowerment for women. And you can come and you can sit in the desert. It is absolutely exquisite. It is safe. It is beautiful. So we'll talk about that definitely.
We need to talk about that. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well,
I'm
I'm
here.
I'm really excited to share Namibia with you, my country with you, but also for our listeners, how can they reach you? Because you have a wealth of information. What is, how do they
Oh,
reach you?
the best way to reach me is through my Fox News email. It's Jeanine.Pirro at Fox News at Fox.com, not Fox News. So it's Jeanine.Pirro at Fox.com. And my assistant goes through those, and she's able to pull things for me. And I'm so excited about December 2nd, I believe, at the Plaza. And even in the before that, and Times Square. So I'm around. I'm easy to find, and you can on Fox. I'm live every day from 5 to 6 Eastern time. Fox News Channel on the 5, and on the radio WABC Sundays at 11, and I'm Judge_Jeanine on Instagram.
Now, that's a good one. Judge
Yes,
underscore Jeanine.
yes, on
I'm going to hit
Instagram.
you up.
Okay, I definitely look forward to talking to you and meeting you, but talking to you about Aspari.
And you too. And thank you, Jeanine, for your time today. And our listeners were, I'm sure, enthralled with
Oh,
sharing your experience. So thank you so much.
thank you so much. Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.